to the side, you would marvel at just seeing a rose grow through concrete. So why is it that when you see some ghetto kid grow out of all of the dirtiest circumstances, and he can talk and he can sit across from you, make you smile, make you cry, make you laugh, all you can talk about is my dirty rose, my dirty stems, and how I'm leaning crooked to the side. You can't even see that I came up out of that.
That audience.
Welcome to Real Talk Radio. I'm your host, Terrell McKinney, along with Willie Hamilton. We are the voice for the voiceless. Join us every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Also call in with any questions or comments at 402-915-1378. Good evening. Welcome to Real Talk Radio with Willie Hamilton and Terrell McKinney. We have a guest today, Mike Hughes. He's with the Avenue Scholars, and he's also the CD2 chair. Nice to have you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
First, I would like to know, start with your background.
Okay, absolutely. I'm Michael Hughes. I was born and raised here in Omaha, Nebraska. I grew up right on 20th and Florence Boulevard. I graduated from University of Nebraska, Omaha with a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. Served 4 years in the United States military in the Army. Did a tour in Afghanistan. Upon my arrival back to the States, I was stationed out in Savannah, Georgia. I became a police officer in Savannah. Did that for about 3 years. I'm married. I have 2 kids, and it was a point in my life where policing was more of a reactive type of deal for me, and I wanted to do something that was more proactive. I was taking a lot of youth to jail between that 15 and 24 range, so it started to get to me a little bit. So talking with my wife, we moved back to Nebraska. Just wanted to have an impact in my community. Right now, I work with an organization that provides scholarship opportunities to low-income individuals here in the metro area. And right now, we have about 700 students in our organization, and we just want to help knock down barriers that have hindered our poverty-stricken youth.
Definitely. How'd you get involved with the Nebraska Democratic Black Caucus?
When I moved back in January of 16, and I always wanted to dabble into politics. I have a minor in political science as well, and I just started attending events with the Democratic Caucus here locally, and with the presidential elections, we had openings here on the Black Caucus, and I put my name in the hat, and I was elected to the Congressional District 2, which is Omaha, Douglas County, and parts of Sarpy County. Okay. Elected to be the chair for this area.
Okay. So what have you learned so far since January 16 up until this point?
That's a great question. I learned that I like history. So I learned that over the course of history, we've knocked down a lot of barriers as far as the Black community, Black involvement in politics, Black involvement in the community, but we still have a long way to go. And no matter what your ambitions are, race is still a big impact. Who you are, like Dr. King talked about character, it's still not yet about character. It's still the color of your skin. And once we can knock down those barriers, I think we can all be better off as a community as a whole.
What are the next steps to knock down the barrier to get it to just be about character?
That's a great question. for me, it's about education. And I know that's a broad answer, but for me, growing up here in North Omaha, seeing violence, seeing people shot, seeing drugs being sold, the education for me, just stepping out the box and saying, okay, um, I can go to Metro, I can get a degree in culinary arts or a degree in criminal justice or attending a university and saying, I want more for myself. I know that's what it was for me. I always wanted to make an impact, like I stated before, joining the military. It's 1% of the population, but as far as Black people, it's just about probably 1% of us as well. So it's hard, and I tell my students all the time, even like on Metro's campuses, I work primarily with Metro Community College, and for a Black person or a Black young man, for instance, I think it's a little different for Black men and Black women because Black women they are esteemed. Most of them are articulate. They know how to grasp things and move forward with it. They mature faster, right? So for a Black man, we're expected to be dead or in jail by 16 or 18, right?
Yeah.
So when I have one that's on campus and they get frustrated or angry, right? I tell them to look around. It's only you here. How many other Black men are in your classrooms? How many other Black men are on campus? So it's going to be a struggle. Like you got to overcome it. So for me, that's what it's about. It's about wanting to educate yourself on what to do right.
I definitely agree with what you said because I was once one of the only Black
Yeah.
people on campus, and you're like, dang, who do I go talk to when I'm going through something? You just gotta sit down and just be like, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I gotta keep pushing. After the election, how did you feel?
I'm sorry. That to me, it still gets to me because it's like, I watched the election results come in and I was like, man, this Donald Trump is going to win the presidency, and I saw it from the point of Black people saying to themselves, none of this pertains to me, none of this matters to me, like it did in 08 and 2012, right? We had, as a Black community, we had something to strive for. We saw greatness. We saw what we thought was change for us, and we ran out to the polls. But this year or last year, it was kind of like, nobody's voting. Nobody has anything to grasp. So when I watched, you had Jill Stein, I think her name is. You had these Green Party or liberal candidates as well, and they're garnering votes, right? So I watched Hillary Clinton in Florida, and she loses by 5,000 votes in some precincts, and it's like you look at these independent people and they're grabbing those 5,000 votes. So for me, I'm a little upset just for the fact that I watched this dude, and we, as a country, we despise bullying, we despise radical racism. In our communities, we despise it, but we elect a president that will get on Twitter or whatever it is, and he'll bash people just because they don't think of how he thinks. So for me, I'm a little irritated. We have somebody in office that doesn't have the capacity to fight for everyone as a whole.
Definitely. After I watched it, I feel like after Obama was elected, the stage was set for Trump because they did everything in their power to take away from anything he did. So then I feel like it discouraged Blacks. Like if he can't do it, then why am I even voting?
That's a great point, and you're absolutely correct. Even like the way that Obama did things when his presidency were kind of a reflection of, like you said, the Black community. So I was actually getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan, and we were in formation one morning, and we got the news that President Obama was able to kill Osama bin Laden, right? So for me, standing in formation and being a resemblance of this country, it was kind of like, wow, we did that without dropping bombs, without sending 5,000 troops into a country. We just did this with 6 people, right? We went into this country, we did our reconnaissance, we figured out the smartest way and the most articulate way to get things done, man, and we did it, and now we're back to dropping bombs and taking risks of killing innocent young people, and it drives me crazy, man.
Another thing that stood out to me from the Democratic Party, I feel like it showed the disconnect with the African American community because Hillary, even though she was the candidate, no matter what, however they tried, she wasn't able to grasp the full African American vote like a Barack or even Al Gore and anyone in the past.
Absolutely. To that point, I see it as it's a cookie cutter candidate, right? You got somebody that's been around since the 80s, that her husband was the president, so she's piggybacking off those same type of ideals. And it's 2016, 2017, for the election, and you got to switch up what you're doing. You got to be able to talk to people in a sense of, okay, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. That relates to me, and to your point, just because Barack Obama was black doesn't necessarily mean he just garnered the vote. He was able to articulate things that dealt with people in the community on an everyday basis.
Definitely. And as much as I dislike Trump, I always said throughout the whole process, I was like, they hate her more than they hate him.
Absolutely. She was not the right candidate.
And I felt like a lot of people were looking over that fact. I was like, she has 30 years in politics.
Exactly.
He has 1 or 2 or 3.
Exactly.
He might say the most outrageous things, but they don't hate him.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. It's somebody with new and fresh ideas. So, for instance, if you just listen to his rhetoric, he's like, we're going to fix immigration. We're going to build a wall. Like, are you really going to build a wall, or are you really just going to fix immigration? Like, you gotta kind of think about it in that context. So, if she was saying I'm gonna fix immigration, it would give us some concrete points as to how she's gonna fix immigration. Then maybe she would have garnered a little more attention.
Audience.
Okay. What role will the Democratic Black Caucus have in improving the relations with the African American community and minorities as a whole?
Absolutely. So the Black Caucus is here to basically take people in the community. We want, normal, average, everyday citizens that have an interest in the political process, whether that's running for office or whether that's voting. So let's say there's people that's interested right now. We have a website. We have the ndpblackcaucus.org, and we have a Facebook page, the Nebraska Black Caucus. You can go to those sites and you can understand more about what the Black Caucus is. But right now, what we want to do is just people that want to be engaged. We want to garner that attention. We want to get them registered to vote. We want to find potential candidates that are of African American descent or African descent, and we want to get them exposed.
What steps are you going to take to engage the community to also find the right candidates instead of just saying he's black? Let's
Absolutely.
Just try to vote for him and get him to office. Somebody that's fully qualified to run,
Absolutely.
understands the process, and
Absolutely.
goes about it the right way.
Absolutely. So Chelsea Gentry is the chair for the Black Caucus. So me, her, a committee of other people. Maurice Jones is our vice chair. Cornelius Williams is our treasurer. We've been getting together. We've been trying to hammer things out as far as we've had events. We're knocking on doors. We're trying to just garner attention that way. We've had events, one specifically at the waiting room that we had to just engage people that want to be either registered or want to be part of the political process. So for me, once again, it's more so education, just the outreach. So just going out, touching as many people as we can and get them familiar with the political processes.
Mr. Hughes, right now we have LB 75.
LB 75.
Which is really going to open the door to so many opportunities for folks who have been locked out of the system.
Yes, sir.
And disenfranchised.
Yes, sir.
I think this got to be one of the greatest opportunities for us, specifically in Nebraska.
Yes, sir.
What will the caucus do to be able to engage those individuals to get them back on the voting roll?
That's a great point. So Justin Wayne was the senator to introduce LB 75. And I think just working in collaboration with Justin Wayne and try to figure out the best way to engage those people that just got off papers or being released from prison at this point, I think that would be the best way. So from my understanding, the next step in that would be to, once people are being released, to get them registered to vote almost immediately. And with that, it would be saying to someone, okay, yeah, you just did 10 years for, a pound of weed or a pound of marijuana. We need you to vote now so that we can get these people that put these laws into place so that we can get it fixed. Mandatory minimums are they're something else.
Absolutely.
And also, Willie, I was talking to Willie the other day, and he had a great idea. Let's use the incentive. You want peers on the jury of your complexion. You need to vote. You need to be registered.
Absolutely,
To be able
absolutely.
to make that happen.
Absolutely, and from my understanding, this past election that we just had, the general election, or excuse me, the primaries, we had a third of the vote come out in Douglas County, and you can just imagine what percentage is that from the North Omaha community. Um, I think we had a mayoral candidate, Ian Michael, who was African American, and I think he garnered 1,700 votes. So let's just say hypothetically that those are all from North Omaha. So that's 1,700 to 2,000 people vote this past election.
And I think Ian, he really brought a lot to the plate. People were excited to see someone that was not particularly involved with the party. But I have to make this very clear. If you're going to get involved with the process,
Mhm.
you have to have some type of foundation
Absolutely.
within whatever party you look to
Absolutely.
be in. And so, what will you do? Because I would love to see someone like yourself think about running for office, maybe sometime in the future.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the barriers that you feel are in place now to stop you from running? And how do we remove those barriers to get more people of color to actually want to run for office?
Absolutely. Once again, just revert back to education. I know that's kind of like my end all be all, but as I see it now, it's garnering support, it's funding, it's understanding the campaign and the political processes. So to fix that, I would just say we need to have some type of pact within maybe even the Latino and Black community to figure out, okay, we have 10 seats up for election in 2018. Let's figure out how to put bodies in those seats, whether it's just the presence alone of letting the community know that, hey, every seat that's open, we're going to have somebody of color at least attempting to run. And I think that'll help young people understand that, okay, yeah, I can be a part of this. I see Michael Hughes up there, or I see Ricky Smith up there, or Yolanda Williams, or whoever it may be. They're a focal point for me right now, and I can move forward with that as a young person.
And when you talk about the PAC as a political action committee, we as a community do not understand that it doesn't take a large amount of money
Yes, sir.
to be able to get a PAC.
Yes, sir.
But if we want our folks to run, we need to be able to find resources
Yes, sir.
to be able to help fund this individual. So I would love to see a PAC established, and I love to see it established both in conjunction with North and South Omaha.
Absolutely.
Our numbers is not big enough. We need to have alliances, and our best alliances is Native Americans, Sudanese, Latinos, poor whites. So, with that being said, what do you suggest we need to do in order to build that collaboration, that partnership between these other communities?
Absolutely. Coincidentally, Mr. Roger Garcia, he's the chair of the Metropolitan Community College Board. Right now, he is trying to establish a pact right now. We actually have a meeting tomorrow to try to further go into detail on how to get people educated, how to get people trained, how to help with fundraising, how to even get people to understand that the OPPD board or the the public power district or whoever that may be, they have officers that are up for election. And not only is it something that you could do and get paid for, it's something you could do to have an impact. For instance, if I'm not mistaken, the OPPD and MUD boards pay, between $70,000 and $80,000 a year. So that's something that I didn't understand until recently that those positions were available. So,
Speaking of inclusion, we were at the, I don't know if you were there, I was at the rally last week, and I took it in, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, where is African American? Where's the Black people at?
Mm-hmm.
Even in the crowd to even on stage, it was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes of just a presence, and I was like, it really isn't enough, and they're trying to cater to us in their speeches, saying, no, we're going to reach across the room, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to help minorities. And I'm like, there are no minorities in this building outside of maybe 50 people.
Absolutely. And I hear your point. And for me, just trying to be part of the political process, like I didn't receive any information about it. I was informed that I could come volunteer, but my job at that time wouldn't allow me to during those hours. But I didn't get a formal invitation that said, "Hey, this is what's going on at this time. Here's who will be here." I seen some information about it on on Facebook and things like that. But I think outreach is most important. So if we don't understand or we don't know that these events or these rallies or these political events are taking place, how can we be present, right? And that's part of the systematic ideals of it, to where it's like, okay, Mr. Hamilton, I know you were there speaking. Mr. Love was there speaking, but even still, that's like saying, okay, we're gonna give y'all this little sprinkle, this opportunity to be present, but we don't want you present in masses. I mean, that's my take on it.
You know, that is such a disappointing thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That as a CD2 representative,
I did not get any.
That you did not get an invitation to an event where, in order for him to win,
He needs to win.
he needs to win. He needs to win North and South,
Yes, sir.
and to have the Native Americans. And no, look, this is not negative against the Native Americans. Had a huge presence. Latino had a huge presence. See, that's our problem. We keep allowing other folks to take our vote for granted.
I agree.
We have to start saying, "Oh, you can't win without us. We are your base." And I think that's what they got away from. They forgot about their base.
Absolutely.
And 80 to 90% of the time, black folks vote Democrat.
Absolutely.
We have to start demanding more. You got an individual that sits on CD2, and he's not aware about an individual coming in, and most of your rhetoric is talking about North and South, and you didn't even offer an invitation. That's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be called attention. So
Absolutely.
we
We try to stay active as a caucus. We try to stay active as individuals. Like we're not into this to be popular or whatever that looks like. We really want to impact our communities the best way we can. And we're out here, we're hustling, we're doing radio spots, we're endorsing candidates, we're doing all this great stuff. But as you said, if we're doing stuff as a masses, as a party, as a Democratic party, and we don't have inclusion, then that's why you have liberal candidates or independent candidates that are coming into the party and saying, "Oh wait, I'm gonna register to be a Democrat this year," because they don't got it together. Or I'm gonna speak the same ideals as a Democrat, but I don't want anything to do with it.
What are 3 things that you think the party needs to push forth to really build their base?
Absolutely. I think just the vetting processes for candidates. I have no idea what that is right now. I'm very curious. We have 2018 coming up. It's going to be potentially big midterm elections. Midterm elections are basically the election after the presidential election. So you got Congress, you got Senate, you got all these big things that are coming up. So the vetting process, 1, would be for me. 2 would just be actively in the North Omaha community. I know I didn't see too many people canvassing this, this mayoral election or for the presidential election. I didn't see too much canvassing. And then just giving out information, just being an information hub for people and saying, okay, we noticed you didn't vote in 2008 or 2008 and 2012, but we noticed you voted in 2006 or 2 or whatever that looks like. How do we get you re-engaged? And that's a simple process. That's going to the election commission. But I mean, for me, it's just those things I would say are paramount, and it all leads back to education, educating people on what the processes are.
And you really did hit 2 valid points. I always say the Democratic Party treats us like a mistress. They come in 3 months before the election. They tell us all these good things, man, and we never see them.
Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is, we should be demanding that the Democratic Party have an office in North Omaha year round.
That's fair.
Don't come in 3 months. Have an office year round and get to understand, have a relationship with North Omaha, and understand our agenda.
And it will be simple. That's a little satellite office. Yep, absolutely. And I definitely agree. And even on these campaigns that you see I was just talking about this over lunch. You don't see African Americans helping out with campaigns, and then I have to ask myself. I say, okay, um, are there not African Americans on these campaigns because we don't have viable people, or they're not on these campaigns because nobody wants black people on their campaigns? And I think it's a little bit of both. I think is if we had educated people that wanted to be part of the political process, then we could say, okay, we got an argument.
Mhm.
But then you look at the campaigns itself, and like even in the mayor's office right now, I know of one person that's black that's in the mayoral city hall, and then if Heath Mello wins, I hope every time I see him, I say, man, make sure you get some diversity in city hall. He confirms it for me, but we'll see.
It is so important when you bring that up. You know, we can't talk about race because in Nebraska, they basically take that away. So now, when I'm talking about affirmative action, so now we call it diversity and inclusion. But look at the different boards, look at the different committees, look at the different candidates and how that makeup is all about.
Yes, sir.
Until we see truly diversity, I shouldn't be able to walk into a Democratic event and only see 50 people like it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's ridiculous. It's supposed to be reflected on the party that it represents.
Yes, sir.
So again, we have to look. I understand we have to be nice sometimes, but at the same time, we also have to make people uncomfortable and demand we get treated equally, just like everybody else.
Agreed.
So I would love to see a pact. I would love to see us having representatives demanding from the party, hey, look, we know how important we are to you. Put an office. A satellite office wouldn't take nothing for you to be able to do that. And more importantly, start getting black folks who live within that community to do the phone banking, to do the canvassing.
Yeah.
So therefore, we'll see other people who look like us out here getting paid, out here doing all this canvassing within our community.
Absolutely.
You were in the military, and I know y'all have like a rules of engagement. And I feel like we should have a rules of engagement when dealing with the Democratic Party. Before y'all come to us, y'all know where we stand. If you're not gonna adhere to where we stand, then don't talk to us.
That's deep, man. That's deep. Right now, I know as far as the caucus, we are trying to come up with kind of sort of a questionnaire aspect. So it'd be something that we could use door to door. It'd be something we could use via social media to where it's just gauging the interest of the black community, whether that's what's most important to you, what do you want to see changed, and so forth. But we are trying to be readily engaged with the black community.
Well, what would it take for the Black Caucus to have a black agenda? I haven't heard a black agenda from any candidate or any organization.
Absolutely,
a black agenda.
Absolutely, and that's part of the process as well. So to say on that same coin, on that same side of the coin, getting a questionnaire for the community, we'll also be doing that for candidates as well, to garner endorsements and different things of that nature. We were just discussing as well is we don't have a voice for the black community. We have, and when I say a voice, I mean we spoke a little earlier about just having a next generation. We don't have a voice of a young person that's saying, hey, this is what's wrong, we need to fix it. We need to fix it now. This is why we need to fix it. So when we get to that point, I think we can make some great successes.
I also believe we have black elected officials, and I feel like they're not held accountable to their campaigns. They come in also just as any other outside group and give a bunch of promises, but then once they get into position, they go this way instead of the right way.
Absolutely. And this is me speaking from my own personal opinion. It's money to me. I feel like a lot of people go into politics and they have these ambitious thoughts, they have these ambitious ideals, and once they get in there and see how hard it is and how racially divisive it is, divisive it is, and it's kind of like you just succumb to your environment and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm making X amount of dollars a year. I got this money coming in from fundraising. I'm gonna just chill out for a second.
Yeah, and I just see it like, and they always hold Dr. King as like the mountaintop basically, or the the benchmark. But they say this, and I'm like, but you're going against everything he stood for.
Absolutely.
You really didn't understand Dr. King if you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I mean, even stay on that is you hear part of I Have a Dream, you don't hear everything. You know, you just hear the part that's politically correct. You know, you don't hear a part about oppression and how we all need to change and figure things out. It's just about, what's politically correct.
Or you don't hear the speeches where he's saying, I believe I've led my people into a burning house.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff is disregarded because the politically correct thing, the inclusive thing is what you hear about and read about and learn about in school.
One of the things that I was a little bit disappointed in when we went into the party was there was no one coming in to help guide you through the process.
Absolutely.
You know, what do you do when you're a delegate? How do you run for being a delegate?
Absolutely.
Can the Black Caucus assist with helping people when they come into this environment to understand how to navigate?
Absolutely. And to be completely honest, I was kind of thrust to the forefront as a delegate and different things like that. And I still don't know what to do, So the more that I figure out, the more that I become educated, then yes, we will have something in place that will further educate up and coming youth and up and coming people that want to be a part of the political process. So yes, to answer your question, eventually, yes, we will have a streamlined process to help people better understand the political processes at caucuses, presidential caucuses, delegate information, and even convention information. So we definitely need to streamline that.
That can happen. I think that would help a lot of people be more engaged and educated.
Yes, sir.
It's a scary thing.
Yes, sir.
Going
So,
into these types of environments.
you made a point and it made me think. I gotta talk about Miss Kimara Snipe. She was running for city council in South Omaha. I think it's District 4. And even talking about systematic oppression, so to speak. She garnered the signatures on the petition. So to run for city council or any elected offices, you have to have petitions, and whatever kind of campaign you have garners so many signatures. For instance, I think mayor is 1,000 votes that you have to get. City council, I'm not exactly sure, but Ms. Snipe was able to garner those signatures. And when she went to present them to the election commission, the dates and stuff were transposed wrong. So her signatures were voided. So just little stuff like that, the systematic, it's still systematic oppression. It's still systematic failures because nobody informed her, nobody trained her, nobody gave her that information. So in this case, ignorance isn't bliss. It's something that held her back, and it's a learning experience. And for anybody that runs for future office, we definitely learned something about the election commission and how information and paperwork needs to be completed in its entirety.
And for me, it was such a disappointment because she's in that environment. She's ran for key positions, but yet she didn't get, I feel, that she didn't get the support that she should have gotten from the party. So when she intended to run for office. So we have to make sure we put things in place to make sure that individuals who are of color understand the process. Absolutely. And how to run for office.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I've known her since I've been in Omaha, and every time I see her, she has her head down. She's working hard. She's doing great things in the South Omaha community. And she's trying to, she tried to break a barrier, and she ran into one, and I'm sure she learned from it, and she's able to let the next generation of leaders learn from it as well. So it was very important, yet sad at the same time.
I just thought of a quick idea. I'm thinking maybe just hold political workshops or political science camps in the community.
Absolutely.
Every once in a while, maybe once every month, and if it grows, maybe more than once a month, just something like that. And when you said something about how her signatures and dates weren't transposed, maybe we create an app for that. So when she walk around with an iPad or a tablet, instead of saying, hey, write your signature, hey, put it in here. And she's not writing, but they're able to do it and eliminate those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Because we know from the beginning, we already behind.
Already behind, man.
So they're gonna find anything in the world to tell you no. So we gotta be prepared for the no.
Absolutely, man. I hate to go on a tangent and stuff, but you know, you're sparking interest for me right now. Like I said, I like history. I like figuring out why things are the way they are, and what you're saying that takes me back to um, just 100 years ago or so. We were removed from a black man being lynched in downtown Omaha. Um, you know, so between now or then and now, you know, we've broken so many hurdles and so many barriers, but the way we broke those barriers were through the political process and through the courts. You know, Brown versus education, you know, civil rights movement, you know, all that stuff was political and in the courtroom. And until we figure that out and say, okay, we want these things changed, we want to do different things, we want to take away mandatory minimums, we want to, you know, we want to increase pay, we want to do all this stuff. All this stuff is fought and won in the courtroom and in the political process. So until we get like-minded people to stand by us and lead us in the right direction, we're never going to have change. Never going to have change.
It like every time I think about it, I'm like, it's so simple. Just get a bunch of black people in a room and we can work together. But it's not that simple.
Oh, no.
And it's never been that simple.
Oh, no.
And that's why we're at that's why we're in the same place we've been since, I would say, since 70.
Absolutely.
Because we allowed what you say, quote unquote, spies to come in and divide every imaginable group back then, and then here comes the flow of drugs and guns and a bunch of violence and gangs. And I feel like we got to get back to pre-70 if we want to get past where we're at now.
So check this out. So you hitting it on the head, man. So check this out. So like you said, drugs and guns being introduced to us, right? So the same people as far as collaboration. So you got, I just had a conversation with Bobby Brumsfield. I just give him a shout out.
What up, Bobby?
Yeah, so we had a conversation about how to get black people engaged, and he made this great metaphor. It was like, if you have gang members and drug dealers in the community, they're like a corporation, right? You got the head guy, the leader, whoever you want to talk about him or call him. He's your CEO, right? And then you got all these people doing your pandering and selling your drugs and bringing and moving your product or whatever that looks like. You know, this is your COO, your CFO, your accountant. You know, all this stuff it's legit. And if we use that same mindset that we do to kill each other, to get angry when somebody says something about our kids, our mama, our set, our block, whatever. We use that same mindset and figured out how to network and change social economic statuses. Man, we'll be a vibrant community, man. You can't go to a black-owned business now without asking for something. Hey, man, you gonna hook me up with a discount? But you don't go to Macy's and ask for that. You know what I'm saying? Like until we come together collaboratively on the same issues and move forward in the same direction, man, we stuck.
Well, I'm about to jump up here, man, because this thing is so good. Most of our issues are not external.
You're correct.
They're internal.
Correct.
We have to find a way to get inside a room, right? Put the egos aside, the selfishness aside. If we don't find a way to be able to do that in some type of unified voice, we will never be able to move the needle.
That's correct.
Right now, man, we have the key to our own freedom, literally. And what we have to do is sit down and say, you know something, even though I don't like this over here, it benefits me for you to be in the room. Mm-hmm. So we got to start having these discussions. How do we deal with the pain? How do we deal with the mental health issues that's happening within our own community that cause us to be so divisive?
Absolutely.
And then we got to hold ourselves accountable. Look, if you say you are black, you got here killing another black man, you need to be held accountable.
I agree.
You know, we got to start having those type of conversations with ourselves and hold ourselves accountable.
I agree.
And stop blaming everybody else for our ills.
I agree, but so even in that same breath is like the majority. You know, I hate to go back to race, but I'm an idealist. I'm a realist, and I know that like you know the privatization of prisons and somebody's getting paid. Mm-hmm. You know, so nobody's going to change the laws if whoever is owning these prisons are making billions of dollars a year. it costs more. People are incarcerated and have better benefits and lifestyles than people that are out here, though. And it's crazy.
And it's something to commit the crime.
Absolutely. And going into it, you know the result. So or the end result. So it's like, okay, if I'm moving weight from a state like Colorado that has legalized marijuana and I'm bringing it to Nebraska, and you know that there's mandatory minimums in place that when I get caught, I'm gonna do at least 10. I'm gonna do at least a dime. You still go out there and do it, but you're doing it for reasons that you got kids, you got family, whatever that may be. I get it, right? So you want the easy money, right? That's gonna result in hard time. So nobody. I haven't heard any leaders or people that are impacting the community talk about juvenile justice reform.
Yeah.
I know for me, um, my ideal refrigeration in the community, and then once they have children, right, they'll be able to instill those same knowledge bases into their kids. That's really how we change. Like I think our generation is done for. Like we can't. I don't think we can change. So I think that the greater impact will be dealing with the youth and trying to have some reform with that.
I think it like you said, it starts with the youth, but it also starts with we have a lot of older individuals in a lot of places, and it feels like they're in denial. And I try to explain to them, y'all failed us. As much as you don't want to admit it, y'all failed us.
Absolutely.
Because y'all stopped everything after Martin, Malcolm, the Black Panthers, everyone.
But what happened though? What happened? The
Yeah.
war on drugs, weapons being introduced, right? So that's still systematic oppression. So if you take away my father and my uncle and they fall victim to this oppression, then who do I have to raise me, right?
They fell for the plan that way, and we're falling for the plan the other way. So then it's just putting us in a box again, locking us back up, and it's just hard to win.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, man. And that's why I go back to juvenile justice reform and just somehow, some way, we got to take the young people that are in the system 4, 5, 6 times the ward of the states, all that stuff. We have to get them in some type of military style boot camp. It doesn't have to be that intense. It just needs to be able to break that person down, bring them down to the basement, to that foundation, and help build them back up. And while they're in there, they can get the GED, they can get some type of technical or skill or trade that they can learn. And then when they reintegrate back in the community, man, you got a top tier young African American or young Latino person out in this community, man.
And we actually went into the prisons, and a lot of the guys that was in there, they are very, very smart and very intelligent. But a lot of these guys, they jam their time and don't have the necessary skill set to be able to get the quality job that they need.
Absolutely.
What we need to start doing is going inside the prison 6 months to a year before they get out.
Exactly.
And so what we've been doing is we actually been behind the walls. So we're trying to bridge them from coming in the prison out with housing, jobs, and all these type of things. But more important than the job itself is the soft skills.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of these guys may never had a job.
Absolutely.
Don't know how to deal with conflict resolution.
Absolutely.
Boss get bad at him and say something to him, he about to whoop his butt.
Yeah.
But we got to find creative ways to be able to change the narrative, if you will.
Absolutely. And to change that narrative though is tough because so even in the organization that I work into, I'm advocating for students all the time, and it's like, if you go into the prisons or whatever that looks like, you're dealing with this person for so many minutes or so many hours in a day. And then once they go home or they go back to the prison, then it's that negative reinforcement again. So it's just several things that we have to do to help people of color and people that are in poverty to succeed.
Definitely. Now we have the Nebraska Democratic Black Caucus Chair, Chelsea Gentry, on the line.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Well, you sent a phenomenal speaker today. He's really got his stuff together. And I just want to touch base with Avenue Scholar. I know we've been talking about all the negative stuff with individuals, but you have an opportunity to stop individuals from actually getting in the system.
Yes, sir.
With Avenue Scholars.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the 2 or 3 things that you guys are doing to actually stop individuals from actually getting into the system?
That's a great point. And you touched on a couple of them. The soft skills. The soft skills are important. Conflict resolution, we're resume building, we're mock interviewing, We're doing everything that we can to touch these young people so that they can have a strong and firm foundation to move forward. So, I mean, we're building community networks with businesses. We have a great partnership with organizations to where we have just a straight pipeline. It's like we have these 5 potential candidates. Can you interview them, give us positive or negative feedback, and then hire as many as you can? So we're doing everything we can to break poverty barriers.
How you doing, Chelsea?
I'm good.
Have you been able to listen to the conversation at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm actually at an event right now, representing the caucus, so unfortunately missed one of it, but I did listen to Mike was talking about what we're doing to help find people and bring more people into the party and help them get acclimated with kind of the way things work. And I agree, it's definitely a problem. The party in itself is not, automatically something that's very welcoming. I didn't even feel very welcome to it, and I'm no lifelong Democrat. But at this point, what we're doing is trying to find more people like ourselves, people of color who are interested in, making change and contributing to their local communities and governments. And, I'm tired of what's going on and upset, and we want to bring them in. So, I've told Willie before many times, like when I ran for chair of the caucus, I didn't even really know what the caucus was or what chair was. And so it's really just an example of, it doesn't take much, we just have to get involved. So what we're doing is we'll be doing a lot of, hopefully, more door knocking and canvassing, and more outreach, trying to, talk to the community and see what's most important so we can bring that to the party and really focus on those things. Because the caucus, we are part of the party, but we really kind of run independently, except that's what we want to do.
How do you build the caucus? Because I think that's the mechanism that is needed to be able to drive our message. So, first of all, when do y'all meet? And how is that information disseminated into the community to get more people actively involved?
Yeah. We for sure meet every 3 months. We're with the Democratic Party, there's a state central committee meeting every 3 months, and it's going to be a different congressional district every time. So sometimes we'll be in Omaha, sometimes it'll be Lincoln. The next one we have coming up is June 10th, and that one is in Chadron, Nebraska. I recognize that not everybody's meet out there, so we are looking at doing a meeting sometime in May. That date is yet to be set. So basically, the outreach that we're doing right now is really just trying to talk to people and get people interested. That Mellow rally that happened the other night was a great opportunity for the caucus to, get out there. And so I do wish that we had a little bit more attention on the caucus that night. Because I feel like the biggest issue that we have is really that people don't even know each other. So it's hard to join something and get involved if you don't even know it's there. So the number one thing for me is everywhere I go, I'm representing caucus, party rep caucus, I have caucus bumper stickers, we have flags. We are really just trying to get the word out there, and we've done a good amount of work. Thanks to Willie and Shakur Abdullah and others, we've helped a lot with this LB 75, which is going to help a lot of people regain voting rights after they've returned. And so a lot of the work that we've been doing is really behind the scenes. It's kind of a thankless job in a lot of ways. You have to really want to help your community because there's no pay involved. There's nothing that I can really offer you other than, knowing that you're making a difference and I can give you a ride. But, beyond that, it's really about how committed you are to really making some change here. And it's baby steps. It takes a long time and a lot of work, a lot of meetings, and a lot of boring stuff to get anything done. And so I understand a lot of people have a hard time sticking with it. But I think right now, our number one issue is just visibility. People don't really exist. If you don't know it exists, you can't join.
Let me ask you a question. You have some really key Black leaders in the party.
Uh-huh.
What are they doing to lift up the Black caucus?
Nothing. Honestly, nothing. So, I mean, this is the problem that I face the top four. Like, they're not really doing a lot, and so we're going to work on doing our own thing. We've definitely had support from the party, but, my goal for the caucus, however long I'm with it, is I would like for ultimately the caucus to be the go-to to get the vote in this city. If you can't get the caucus vote, then you can't win an election. And we need to be that important because we are that important. And, as far as the Democrats go, District 11, LB11 has the highest concentration of Democrats in the state.
That's what I'm saying.
So, if you consider that that's North Omaha, Northeast Omaha, we're mostly black over there. That's where I live. We're represented by Ernie Chambers. If we all voted and we had a reason to vote, then we could own the vote. You wouldn't be able to win an election without it. And so, I think for a long time we've been withholding the vote. And I don't think that works. It's obviously not working. Trump won. We still don't have candidates that we're really, really happy about, locally, nationally. I think we all need to start looking at how we really actively need to vote, and we need to help find people to run, people that we really believe in.
But more important than that, we gotta find a way to have some type of unity. Nowhere in the world this individual is supposed to be out here on the CD2 and not getting the support from leadership within the party, specifically black leadership. Now, it's supposed, look, we're only as strong as our leaders saying, look, we support the caucus. If you had, I'm just throwing some names out there, you know me. If you had John Ewing, you had Chris Rogers, if you had Ben Gray, if you had Preston Love, if you were saying, look, we are in support of the caucus and demand that the caucus is recognized. But we don't have those individuals saying to do that. That's why, this thing is happening, because we're so dysfunctional. Now, we need to get behind closed doors and say, look, we're in the same boat together. We need our leaders to support the caucus and go out there and tell folks, look, this is an avenue that you can get into the caucus, learn the process. You want to run for office, this is how you do it. And the caucus is the viable entity to be able to do that.
Right. Well, I agree, because I feel like, nobody's really going to look out for us like that. And that's,
I feel like
clearly true and clearly true. So, I totally agree with you. And, I've worked with Preston, I've worked with Yoli, I've worked with, Chris Rogers, I've definitely talked to Greg. These people definitely do know the caucus is there. I believe that they do support the caucus, but it's hard to get to everybody in one room all the time. So I agree, it's something that we need to do, and it should be done immediately.
We can use technology. We can use other things to get everybody in the room. We cannot be, look, I'm tired of excuses. If we want to make this thing happen, we can make it happen. But the only way this thing is going to change, we got to start having that conversation saying, look, let's get behind closed doors. And let's come, it might need to be a report card with all the different candidates, man, and what they stand for. And then we can vote accordingly. But if we don't find a way for us to have some type of unified voice, they are never going to take us serious.
also I feel like we need to engage the younger population, because all the guys that you mentioned are older. They're from an older generation.
Yeah.
And most of the people that vote for them are in the older generation. If we want to put the right candidates in, then we have to honestly probably get to the young.
Absolutely.
I agree. And that's something that I've, not only as somebody, I think, I'm in my 30s, but even as a woman, there's, not a lot of us out there. So there's definitely a few people that I have reached out to that I see that are out there doing work. There's Girl Precious, who's always out there fighting community about things that we may not know about otherwise. Those are people that really, we want help from. We would love to get them involved, and we would love to have these people working with us, because you're already doing this work. We know that you believe in it. But I agree, we're all different, and everything, we all kind of cover different spectrums of the black community, and we all need to together and figure out how to make our circles interconnect a little bit.
I'll make a commitment this way. I'll make a commitment this way. Mike is the CD chair for our CD. He should be the catalyst to maybe try to call this meeting along with the Black Caucus. And I will reach out to other folks. This meeting needs to take place, and I mean as soon as possible.
Yeah. I agree.
This is good.
I agree. I know Mike and I have a meeting, well, and Charlie, we have a meeting on Sunday. That's possible. We can schedule meetings whenever, and Mike is an important person because Mike specifically deals with Douglas County, so this is all new territory.
Wow.
I like it.
We gotta get these young folks, and we have the caucus, we have Mike, we have Minority Whip. We should be in the room together, talking about a collaboration.
Yes, sir.
We should be in the room together, and that needs to happen. And I think if we can get those folks in the room and then say, look, this is not an attack on Chris. This is not an attack on John. We're saying y'all need to be in the room and help us guide this process. But more importantly, y'all need to support the caucus.
They also need to support the caucus, and they also need to stop saying they know what Black Omaha needs when they're clearly disconnected at the African American population in North Omaha. You can't say that if you're disconnected.
Right. Well, I mean, I think ultimately the most important part is that, we know what we want and we know what we need in our community and we know, really the steps to take to get there. It's just a matter of us doing it and having participation and really being in a position where we can say, we're going to make these decisions, you're not making them for us. That's kind of the number one thing for me is, I want us to be in charge of our own destiny. This is something that we should be doing. That there should be no question about who we want and what we want to represent us, because it should be something that we're deciding.
Y'all got six people that I think are up and coming. You got Angel Martin, Precious yourself, Mike, you got Leo Lewis. Those individuals need to be pushed forth. Doing some phenomenal thing, my boy Terrell. Those individuals need to be in the room, and we start having a conversation with them and say, look, what do you need to be more successful? What do we need to give you? Is it training? Is it establishing a pack? Is it support? What do you need? And giving them the space or the platform to be able to hear their voice. I'm done.
No, I think I know there's a lot of talent in our community. I mean, we have really great business minds, really great thinkers, really, people who are out here who are really willing to do the work in our community. It's just about tapping into those people and figuring out, what they're best suited for and where, they can make the biggest difference. So we're all invested in this. I mean, school board raise, Senate races, mayor's races, all of these things affect us even more so than, what's happening with Trump. So it's, I can't even stress the importance of us getting out and voting, and not just voting, but deciding who is going to be there representing us. People complain about the candidates that we have representing us in the Black community, but, anybody can run. The only requirement to run for office is to be a registered voter.
Yeah, but we got to be careful because you're setting people up to fail. They got to learn the process to give them the tools so they can be successful. So I don't want to send nobody out there and say, hey, just go run. For what? No.
This is why we're looking for people, like you said, like people that you can already name in the community who are doing this work, who you want to approach and ask them, what can we do to help you do more?
Get them the tools, man. Get them the tools. Yeah. So, and I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it.
But I think it's highly important that we have regular. Right now I'm at a certified.
Oh, you're out good.
For the caucus, that's a room full of senators doing karaoke, and it's all well and good, but we're going to every person in here, other than, maybe 10 of us are lawyers, doctors, very few people are actually understanding the, real day-to-day struggle of everyday people and what we go through. So it's important to me that we have people in office some point here soon, running for office that are bringing these issues to the forefront because, in reality, these people are not dealing with the things that we're dealing with. And they couldn't even, you can't really expect them to think about us when they're not dealing with the things that we're dealing with.
Definitely. We're going to give Mike the last few words. We'd like to thank you for calling in and entering the conversation and just starting it. I look forward to it.
And I would really encourage anybody who's interested to, you can look us up online at ndc.caucus.org. We have a Facebook page, there's two of them, there's Democratic Party Black Caucus and NDC Black Caucus. You can contact me directly, Chelsea Gentry Simpson, but, we definitely need people, and even if you're just interested about finding out what we do, and, if there's something that maybe we can help you with, if there's something that maybe we should be looking at that we're not doing, I would like to hear all of that. So please contact us, but I fully agree with everything you're saying, completely.
Thank you.
And I know for me, Ms. Chelsea, you kind of hit everything over the head. I would just like to say that, we are out here, we are grinding, we are working hard for the Black community. If you need to contact myself or me, you can hit me up on Mike Hughes on Facebook. I'm really, social media isn't my thing, but I'm trying to get a Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff up. But we are out here, we are fighting. If you are interested, just hit me up. You see me in passing, I'm very approachable. And I'm going to be out here working hard for you and whoever else needs assistance. So I want to thank you, Mr. Hamilton, and thank you, Terrell, for having me on. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all good. Y'all had all this the whole time, too. So, Mike, we're going to actually upload this on